Hello everyone. I want to make a companion video to my submission to explain to those who don't know about Seiya or this game a little bit more to understand the context and how the game plays and why the task I just submitted is somewhat good. So let's start with the game. I have this ROM hack which translates Japanese text to English so it's easier to understand. So if you want to play it yourself, I highly recommend you to play this version. Let me reduce the volume a little bit. So this is the opening song to the anime, and very nicely translated into NES here. But after the introduction plays, and if you wait a bit, you will have the introduction scene, which is derived from the anime, where it shows you after visiting Greece, the Bronze Saints with Athena get immediately interrupted by this attack where Athena gets injured. So you can read the text here. So that's the story for this game. There's an arrow that has pierced Athena's breast, and now you can take that out because otherwise she would die. And the only person that can take it is the Pope. Take it away, basically. And the Pope is the final boss, so to speak. And his temple lies at the top of the whole sanctuary, which comprises 12 temples, each one from the horoscope, signs of the horoscope. So basically what we need to do in this game is to traverse the 12 houses or 12 temples, one after the other, defeating or bypassing the gold saints, that warriors that are there, in order to reach the Pope and save Saori. That is Athena. So this is how it starts. And after the introduction, we can start the game. And here is the clock. We have 12 hours to beat the game, and in the anime, 12 hours to save Athena. Basically, it's 1 hour per temple. And we start with Aries, then Taurus, then Cancer, so on and so forth. So when you start, you can choose with which character you want to start the game. At every temple, you can choose it. You have Seiya, Shiryu, Hyoga, and Shun. Seiya is the balanced one. He's the protagonist of the series, so to speak. Shiryu and Hyoga are the worst ones for the game. They are slow and their air attacks are not so good. And Shun is very fast, and one of his attacks is the one that takes the most Cosmo energy, which is the magic power of the enemy. So he's a pretty good character. But basically, what we want to do is use Shun as much as possible for the first stage. I will show you what that is. So once you choose the character, you can then change their Cosmo energy, which is the magic points, and the life, which is the HP. And after you choose the character, you can go and traverse this first part, which is just walking around, going to the temple where the Gold Saint is, killing random warriors. And once you reach the temple, you enter it. So Shun is the fastest one, that's why we use it more often for reaching the temples. But then we want to fight with Seiya as much as possible, because he's the one fighting the Pope at the end, so we need him to be as powerful as possible. So once you reach the temple, you have 4 choices: attack, negotiate, call friends, and status. Status is just information. Call friends allows you to change with whom you're fighting after you reach the temple. So not in certain temples this works, in others the Gold Saint will not have any patience for this and he will attack you directly. But basically the whole game is switches between attacking and negotiating. Mu is a friend, so he's an exception. He's one of the few that collaborate with us, so we only need to talk to him. And he's going to restore our clothes or armors, let's say. But let's skip this part because I want to talk about this during the TAS. This is only explanation at the beginning. I want to show you how the attacking, how the fight mechanics work. So once you bypass areas that was easy, you can continue. So now you can increase the cosmos because for every temple, most of them increases the maximum life and cosmo energy for everyone. Some others increase only the maximum life and cosmo of the saint that has fought, not everyone, but that's mainly due to the lore of the story of the anime and the manga. So Tauros is a little bit larger, this part, because it gets harder and harder as you go. The enemies get tougher as well. But once you reach the temple, then you can fight the first proper fight. The Tauros Saint will get to you as hardly as possible. So once you enter, you have the chance to recover a little bit using the seventh sense. Seventh sense is a kind of score or like a inventory of gold, let's say, with which you can refill your characters. So I have very little seventh sense. I should have been more careful. So with this, we can start to fight. Against Aldebaran, which is the Tauros Gold Saint, you can negotiate. If you negotiate twice, you can decrease his attack efficiency. So these are the kind of Easter eggs or parts of the lore that you don't get to know if you play this game in Japanese and you don't know anything. So this is the best attack of the whole game, of the default attacks. So you have more attacks that unlock later, but from the start, this is the best way, which subtracts the most Cosmo energy. So in this case, I was lucky. You have more or less 50-50 chance to hit the Gold Saint. I was lucky. And then you have 50-50 chance to get hit if you parry. Parrying is something I didn't know about until very recently. So in this case, I was unlucky and he hit me. But since he has been diminished in his power because I talked to him, it's very little that he has done to me. So then you fight until you defeat the Saint. So in this case, I couldn't hit him. But it's more like that, more or less like that. You just fight against them and then you defeat them. And after you defeat them, you go to the next temple, so on and so forth, until the Pope. So now this is a good moment to switch from the Japanese version, from the US translated version to the actual Japanese one, and play the TAS as I made it. So you will be able to see the skips and everything I and this other author did to solve this. So a little bit of context before I start. Before doing this movie, I always do research. Of course, it's something you need to do because you don't want to reinvent the wheel and do something that's already been done and even worse than before. So I looked for TASes in TAS video, and the only precedence was Xipo's work. And he had cancelled his submission even after being accepted because someone else had improved it. But I didn't find that someone else in TAS videos. And I kept searching, and I came up with this Chinese rabbit hole, and where many Chinese authors are in their own YouTube likes and other resources. And I found this author called Gong Lue, which has the current fastest task for this game. And he has discovered crazy skips for the first phase where you walk around, which I had never imagined you could do. So I wanted to replicate those, at least to have for ourselves, for the TAS Videos community, a version of his work available to us. But then again, I have this bot that we can use to improve even further. So I used it to discover faster ways to achieve these skips. So I didn't invent these skips. I didn't do the routing. I just took his routing, changed a few things, so improved it a little bit. Another thing is that he played it in the Chinese ROM hack of the game, which is slightly faster for dialogues. So in the end, his movie is faster in terms of wall clock. But of course, I played the original game, and the improvements I found are more or less significant, but are not so significant as the ones he had found. So I wish he or the entire Chinese community would be more integrated into TAS videos so we can exchange more information around. This reminds me a little bit, sorry for the tangent, there was this for Super Mario Nintendo 64, this division between Japanese and American European speedrunners, which at the end it was breached, right? I wish we could do the same for the TAS community. Anyway, let's play the movie and I will explain to you what happens at every point. So, of course, very fast menuing. I go fast with Shun, of course, that's my selection. And let's see if the sound is a little bit too high. And why is he attacking all the time? Well, the bot does whatever he wants. It's hard to configure the bot not to do something if it's on the path of the fastest solution. So I just didn't care. I just allowed it to use the attack all the time, and that's fine for me. Here we execute the dialogues as fast as possible, skipping Aries' move and this whole dialogue as fast as possible. But of course, we have to sit through it. Then we select Shun again, no change in Cosmo Energy or life because we can just roll. And here's the first skip. We offset around the screen and trigger the start of the tempo as fast as possible. Now in the fight against Aldebaran, we first change and use Seiya because we want Seiya to be as powerful as possible for the end. We increase his power, and now we can fight against. We use less than the maximum because we want to have exactly the amount of power to beat him the least amount of attack cycles, but we don't want to have more power because that takes more frames for the attack to finish. So we have 193 Cosmo, which is the minimum, exact minimum to defeat him in 4 attacks, I think. We use the second attack from Seiya, which affects more life than Cosmo Energy, so we will kill, so to speak, Aldebaran, which will defeat Aldebaran via draining his life, as opposed to his Cosmo Energy. We also haven't spoken to Aldebaran to increase his efficiency because we just don't get hit, so why would we care about his efficiency? So we just defeat him with energy, and we cut his horn, which depletes his power or his pride, let's say. So he just let us pass because he considered himself defeated. Now we select Seiya again, we don't charge anything now because that's slower than charging later, and we execute another skip here. We go to a place where we can do... so the physics of why the skip works is that when you drop from a jump, you can see it here. When you drop from a jump and you have a ledge or a tile right next to you, the game adjusts your X position a little bit, even beyond the boundaries of the screen. And once you do that a few times, and time again, you scroll around the screen. When you scroll around the screen, you mess up the detection of the end of level. The end of level happens when you reach some kind of 250x, which is the whole way scroll around the screen. That's the detection that the game uses for ending the level, because you don't reach that point until you scroll as much as you can during the whole walking part. So by switching around the screen, we fool the game into believing we reached the end and we are in the right beside the temple. So that's why this works so nicely here. And this is the first part of the level where we can do this effectively. So that's why we walked to this point in the level. Okay, so that's the main pattern, and it's gonna repeat once and time again. Now we play against the Gemini cloth. There's no one in that cloth or that armor. He's just being manipulated from like a remote controlled by the Pope. Here we increase the Cosmo to have the same effect as Aldebaran, defeat him in the least amount of cycles, but still don't spend more frames than necessary in the attack part. So here we traverse this another dimension part of the game. He sends us to another place in the cosmos, and we have to come back, and we just traverse here. One optimization I made to this game, and I forgot to write it in the submission notes, is that I let Seiya get hurt as much as possible. And by getting hurt here, it doesn't take any frames out of us. It doesn't subtract Cosmo energy, which we need to defeat the Genesis, the Gemini fighter. But in the final part of the game, we need to have Seiya defeated by the Pope once. And by doing this, we need to decrease the life. But if we decrease it by the selection, it takes a few frames. If we decrease it manually, when we have the chance to do it. But if we get hurt, we decrease it faster now. And this saves a few frames at the end of the game. So it's better to get hurt now. So we keep jumping around. This has been optimized by the bot. We get through. And now, after this part, we do the skip again. And you can see it clear here how the game pushes us towards skipping around. Now we just attack the Gemini cloth until it's defeated. So we can skip this part pretty much. He attacks us. We parry the attack. We attack him again. We parry the attack. He lost. He doesn't say anything. And then we defeat him, and the cloth gets disassembled. So there was no one inside. One thing that you can see here is that after that attack, this is part of the lore of the anime, so perhaps if you watch the anime, it's gonna be better. There's a black part where Hyoga used to be. It's because he did get sent to another dimension, but in fact gets rescued by the Aquarius saint in the Libra house, the Libra temple. So it's very complicated, and gets. If you play with Hyoga, you can see the whole story. But if you play with Seiya, you skip that part. But he gets entrapped in a ice coffin for the rest of eternity. And then we should save him when we reach the Libra temple. You will see that later. We save him with Shiryu. All right. So let's just get going as fast as possible. We don't lose time with management of HP and Cosmo Energy, and get to execute yet another skip here. Now this is the Cancer Warrior. He will send us to the realm of death, where we should escape by doing the same thing as we did before in the Gemini house. So sometimes I use the word house, sometimes I use the word temple. Different translations have different used that interchangeably. So here we get to this point and we execute the skip once again. And we are out. So now he is surprised that we are back from the realm of death, and we get to defeat him. We will also use the attack that subtracts more HP than Cosmo Energy because he has less life. So this will be a faster kill if we do that. Now let me skip the fight because it's not so relevant. He talks a little bit during the fight, complains that he cannot hurt us, but in the end we send him to the realm of death himself, so he's out. Now, we choose Seiya again for the Leo temple. Execute yet again skip. Now this is Ioria of Leo. He's a good guy, but he has manipulated by the Pope to try to kill us. And in the story, someone comes to save us, sacrificing his life, but we will skip that part of the story and just kill him straight away. So we skip. Talk to him a little bit, and then he becomes vulnerable to our attacks. And after he becomes vulnerable, after all this talk, we can just hit him until he's out. And he doesn't die. It's not that we hurt him a lot, it's just he gets freed from the spell, basically, and asks for forgiveness. But curiously, in the anime, he doesn't join the fight, so that's very strange. He's kind of a coward. Now this is the Virgo temple. In the Virgo temple, we will find Shaka, which is one of the strongest saints. The idea with Shaka is to have everyone defeated, so that Iki, the 5th playable character, comes to our rescue. But in the end, this takes too long, so we just fight with Seiya, accumulating power for Seiya for the last fight, and we just hit Shaka right off the gate. He's really tough normally, but if we manipulate things like we are doing, it's very easy. So with a few hits, he should be out. So let me advance this because it's kind of a drag, and he's out. Now In the Lyra temple, we should come with Shiryu because he's the only one that can use the Lyra armor or one of the weapons in the Lyra armor to free Hyoga from the ice coffin which he's in. This is Doko of Libra, so this is Shiryu's master. He's not here, so he appears like a vision or something. He tells you to use one of the Lyra's armor weapons, and you choose correctly, which is the sword. If you don't choose the sword, you get sent back to the beginning. So you take the sword, free up Hyoga, and he becomes playable again. There is Hyoga, but we don't use it yet. We go to Scorpio. Again, another skip. This is Scorpio Milo. You may recognize him because he's my avatar in TAS videos and everywhere else. So he's my favorite anime character. Here we just beat him straight away, but we just hurt him with Seiya, because in the end we want Hyoga to give the fatal blow, because we need Hyoga to be stronger by the Aquarius temple when he defeats his master in the Aquarius temple. So we'll just skip because it's just a fight. And now, before he's done, we change to Hyoga. Just give him a little bit of energy necessary to kill him, and then he's out. And then Milo congratulates Hyoga for being strong, and then allows him to pass. We choose Shun to get to the Sagittarius temple. In Sagittarius, there's the late Aioros, which is the brother of Aioria. He's only going to encourage us to keep going and give his trust that we will take care of Athena and save her. So good guy Aioros gives us more energy for all this. Everyone in the all of our characters get an increase in maximum HP and magic power. Hence the noise there. Then we are in the Capricorn temple now. Another once again skip. And here we have to defeat Shura of Capricorn. The only person who can defeat him is Shiryu because he will sacrifice his life to defeat him. So now we have to increase the Cosmo energy to a point where we defeat him in the least amount of hits, but also decrease the life because we want to die. And after we die once, we will receive a new power, a new attack. And this attack is much more powerful than the one we get default. So this is Doko again, his master. He talks, he revives, he gets a new attack, and with this attack we will defeat Shura. So, a few hits later, he's defeated, but Shiryu sacrifices himself to defeat Shura. So it's not that we defeat him cleanly, we lose Shiryu for the next fight. Hence the black box you saw there. Now in Aquarius we use Hyoga, which is the warrior of the cold attacks, so it's properly a proper selection. And here in the Aquarius temple is Camus. Camus is Hyoga's master in the manga, his second master in the anime. And this will be a battle to death, where the warrior with the most powerful cold attack, the one that reaches absolute zero, will win. But spoiler alert, both will die in this fight. So we want to decrease the life again, because after we are resuscitated by Mu of Aries, we will gain a new attack. That's Mu. We get a new attack, and with these new attacks, we can defeat him quicker. So you can see he gets pretty much drained. The math that the game uses to determine how much energy and magic points you subtract is very simple. It's a linear equation. It's just C times your Cosmo energy, and that's how much you times how effective your attack is, depending which attack you select. It's the amount you subtract to the other to your opponent. There's nothing from the opponent that affects this. There's no armor. There's no anything. Endurance points or stamina points, that doesn't play into account. It's just pure math on your side, and that's how much you subtract. So it's a pretty shallow game. As an RPG, it's very bad. Well, basically, we both die here, and the only remaining characters will be Shun and Seiya for the pieces fight. And if you can guess it already, we will use Shun, because Seiya needs to defeat the final boss, so Shun will sacrifice himself again after this skip. That's Aphrodite of pieces. Aphrodite is a little bit of a hard fight because you cannot defeat him as fast as possible. You should defeat him in a few. You have to hit him many times before you unlock the last the new attacks at your disposal. If you don't do that, if you don't get to talk, he will not blow away. Shun will not blow away the path of roses that will attack then Seiya, and you will not be able to beat the game. So you need to attack him many times here. Of course, he attacks you, but we parry out all of his attacks. So we can skip this part. Pretty much he's talking and fighting, and then after you defeat him with the new attack, he attacks you with the white rose, which drains your heart of blood, but he also dies from the fight and another sacrifice. And now we have only Seiya for the last part. This is the path of roses that the Aphrodite created, but we skip it completely here. But the good thing is that we keep draining our life, which is something that will save us frames after. This is Marin, Seiya's master, that gives us her mask so that we can traverse this path, and then we can just blow away the roses, and we can continue to the Pope's temple. So we skip this part, we go to the Pope's temple. Here he is. There's a lot of talk here, blah blah blah. Here we had a question in submission. Why do we subtract cosmos energy here? It's because, as I said before, we want to defeat him in the least amount of cycles, but with the least amount of cosmo energy, such that no more frames are wasted in the animation. So when you exceed this number, 820, more frames will be used to show the reduction in his energy and HP than necessary to kill him. So it will be, even after he reaches 0, there will be more frames showing that he gets damaged. We want to skip all those frames. So it's cheaper to take some time here to reduce the energy than to waste all those frames. At least that's the theory. We also subtract the energy here, the small amount of energy remaining, because we need Seiya to die first before we can damage Saga, which is the Pope. So we attack him. We need to attack him for him to reveal himself, or to start crying, or whatever. Then he switches to his evil side because he's a Gemini character. He's the Gemini Saint, so he has two sides. He's good and evil. So now he switches to his evil side. We attack him. Nothing happens because he's super immortal, whatever, at this part. So now he beats us. We die. Now Iki, the 5th playable character, comes to save again the situation. We get to attack him once for free, reduce his cosmo energy and life, and now he completely destroys us, which is good because we need to defeat him with Seiya. We cannot defeat him with Iki. Now Iki dies, goes to hell, and now you come back with Seiya completely reinforced with more energy points, whatever. Now we attack him. So what's the deal here? If you play the game 100%, that is, you follow the lore of the anime, which we absolutely didn't do, you will get granted a 3rd attack for Seiya. So now he has 2. He has 2 from the start of the game. One that drains more Cosmo, one that drains more energy, or HP. If you play the game as the anime tells you to play it, which is much slower but it's more entertaining, you will receive a 3rd attack, which is completely crushing. And it's nice to see, but of course here we don't have it. We went through the any % route, so we skipped as much as possible of the lore. But it's very nice to see when you play it, even if it's a arguably bad game. If you have watched the anime and you follow everything that happens in the anime, you will receive this Easter egg or extra attack. But in any case, it's also nice, having watched the anime, to divert from the end to do something different. It's like you're drawing your own story, which is also nice, right? So here we're close to defeat him. It's basically attacking him until he's done. You get the chance to recover your energy as for every attack, so it's kind of like this part is just easy. It's not so hard because you can recover. So it's just a matter of attacking him until he's dead, and he's done. And now we get to finally go to the Athena statue, where we use her own shield to free her from the arrow, and that's the end of the story. It wasn't the Pope who saved her, but it's you by using Athena's shield. And now she's okay. So she wakes up, and that's it. Good. So play the game. Use the ROM hack for the English translations if you want to understand a little bit more. It's a fun game. It's not the best game ever, but it's okay-ish. But it holds some sentimental value for most of us who played it and watched the anime when we were kids. So why not? Why not do it, right? Okay, I hope this helps a little bit in understanding the story and the gameplay and whatnot, and a little bit more enjoying the TAS as it is. I hope you liked it, and see you next time.